U.S. Senator Mike Lee out of Utah has introduced a bill to ban pornography and clearly define obscenity. Roll this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. In a press release over on his website, he shared that his Interstate Obscenity Definition Act will clearly define obscenity and allow law enforcement officers to more easily prosecute it when it is transmitted across state lines. It will define obscenity within the Communications Act of 1934 as content that, taken as a whole, appeals to the prurient interest in nudity, sex, or excretion, depicts, describes, or represents actual or simulated sexual acts with the objective intent to arouse, titillate, or gratify the sexual desires of a person, and, taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Furthermore, it notes that it removes the intent requirement that only prohibits the transmission of obscenity for the purposes of abusing, threatening, or harassing a person. Commenting on the bill, Lee said this: obscenity isn't protected by the First Amendment, but hazy and unenforceable legal definitions have allowed extreme pornography to saturate American society and reach countless children. Our bill updates the legal definition of obscenity for the internet age so this content can be taken down and its peddlers prosecuted. U.S. Representative Mary Miller from Illinois, who introduced a House version of the bill, also said this: the Interstate Obscenity Definition Act equips law enforcement with the tools they need to target and remove obscene material from the internet, which is alarmingly destructive and far outside the bounds of protected free speech under the Constitution. I'm proud to lead this effort in the House with Senator Lee to safeguard American families and ensure this dangerous material is kept out of our homes and off our screens. As Miller notes, pornography is indeed dangerous material. Rachel Ann Barr, the co-director of Georgetown University's Department of Psychology, wrote back in 2019 that researchers at the Max Planck Institute in Berlin, Germany, found that higher porn use correlated with less brain activation in response to conventional pornographic imagery. This explained why users tend to graduate to more extreme and unconventional forms of porn. Pornhub analytics reveal that conventional sex is decreasingly interesting to users and is being replaced by themes like incest and violence. Barr also notes there are a number of other negatives when it comes to people who watch pornography. Porn consumers report greater depressive symptoms, lower quality of life, and poorer mental health compared to those who don't watch porn. It's literally destroying you. She also says porn use has been correlated with the erosion of the prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain that houses executive functions like morality, willpower, and impulse control. Damage to the prefrontal cortex in adulthood is termed hypofrontality, which predisposes an individual to behave compulsively and make poor decisions. She actually says that it reduces your brain to that of a child. It does immense damage. This is clearly does immense amount of damage, and there's plenty of studies that show this, that show that it is destroying people. It is literally regressing their morality and damaging their brains. And it leads people to engage in even sicker acts of pornography. I know people are going to be complaining about, oh, well, what about free speech? Because that's what people do now. They think that pornography is somehow free speech now. Well, that's just not the case. Dr. Chad Pecknold, a professor at Catholic University, has provided a really good just argument against this idea that pornography is free speech. He explained this to Catholic Answers, and he says, what is pornography? What drives pornography? Why does pornography exist? It exists for a pure and simple reason of masturbation, self-abuse. At the heart, why does all this pornography exist? You could say, well, it's technology, but that's a kind of instrumental cause, where at the heart of it's the notion that we should be free to pursue any pleasure that we want. A sexual licentiousness that we should be able to, and we will not like this idea because everything in our society has told us that people should be free to do whatever they want in their bedrooms, or people should be free to do whatever they want to do with their bodies. My body, my choice. But masturbation is self-abuse. It is the misuse of your freedom. And so pornography is built on that, he said. It's built on the misuse of freedom. It's built on this misuse of freedom. And then what happens? It begins to degrade all the social bonds. It begins to degrade women. It degrades men. It begins to degrade the social bonds. It begins to touch our children. It used to be that the pornography was up on the top shelf in the shop, but now it's in everybody's pockets. And so your 4-year-old can see it. And so you see that this false view of liberty that has infected our view of sex then comes in and creates this false view of liberty, creates the demand for masturbation and for pornography, and breaks down the social bonds. And then we then try to view it through this other lens of liberty as license in the realm of speech, and it's completely confusing to us. We think, well, is that free speech or isn't it free speech? It's not ordered to goodness, it's not ordered to truth, so it can't be counted as free speech. But then it's also just a category mistake because it's not speech. It's actually the promotion of self-abuse, and the promotion of self-abuse leads to the abuse of others, including the abuse of our families and our marriages. That's my answer, is that this is actually all tied to what Pope Leo condemned as liberalism's false notion of liberty. He's talking about Leo the 13th, not our newly elected pontiff, Pope Leo the 14th. But he says what Leo condemned as liberalism's false notion of liberty, liberty as license, rather than liberty is as ordered to truth. So that is how he breaks down this argument of free speech. I think it is really good, because we do live in this idea that freedom is just a license to do whatever you want, and that is absolutely not the case of what freedom is. Freedom should be ordered to goodness. It's ordered to truth. That is what it really means to be free. You are not free if it is just a license to do whatever you want, because you've just basically made yourself a slave to whatever sin that you happen to be engaging in. In this case, we're obviously talking about pornography. So you've become a slave to pornography. You're no longer actually free if you're engaging in this activity. And the science even makes that very clear, as we note that it leads to decreasingly interesting to users and is being replaced by themes like incense and violence. So you have to progress ever further down this dark, disgusting, evil tunnel when you engage in it, because you are a slave to it. But I'm really glad that Senator Mike Lee and U.S. Representative Mary Miller are taking this step to try to ban this absolutely disgusting stuff from our country. I hope more people decide to join with them, and we get this rooted out of the United States of America. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.
Why would you be afraid of the people? Why are you not afraid of God instead of man?